Super Chopper. Boku a doctor. Tony Chopper.
Tony Chopper. Jack, what do you have to say about this?
Is that in frame? Hold on. Let me make sure. Yeah, there's an angel up there. There's also, appropriately, I found this in your closet when you asked me to get toilet paper. Gamer Angel. Gamer Angel. Which is appropriate because we're once again back here to talk about video game movies.
There's not room for...
Yeah, just put it back there. Or up there, I don't care.
Gamers, rise up.
I haven't played Smash Bros. Smash Bros. Ultimate.
Nah, I'm into Overwatch now.
Yeah, I play Overwatch now. Real.
The regret. It's like the Neanderthal meme.
So for today's FEARcast episode, Kirk is going to spend an hour talking, giving you his opinion on every Overwatch skin.
Okay, so starting off with the
Wait.
Genji.
I was kidding.
No, so it's been a hot minute.
It has.
But we are doing the long-awaited sequel to our Gamer episode,
which I realized was in 2020. Jesus. I was like...
That was for your,
21st birthday, and I'm 25 now, so...
Don't say that. Don't say that.
The passage of time. But today we're going to talk about Sonic, first of all.
Sonic the Hedgehog 3.
Because it's a tradition. We've talked about every Sonic movie on the Fear podcast. And we have to continue. And then we're going to also talk about the
Mario Bros. Movie from the 90s.
The one that we couldn't find. We wanted to talk about in our first video, but we couldn't find it on streaming.
So we had to make do with something else, Double Dragon or something? I don't know.
Yes, it was Double Dragon. I checked what we talked about that time. It was Double Dragon and Angelina Jolie Tomb Raider, and of course, the legendary movie Gamer. Gamer. I've got you under my skin.
That's still a legendary moment.
Yeah.
Or the fact that we made drinking rules for that, and then within 3 minutes
we
had down
in
2
society,
drinks,
yeah,
and it was halfway.
We were still preparing popcorn, and I'm like, Kirk, they said it already. They said it already. We'll see.
Gamers.
We'll see if the movies for tonight inspired that same level of fear. We haven't actually watched them yet.
No.
I'm trying a bit of a new strategy where we talk about things as we watch them to some degree.
Talks a lot, listens.
Because then we don't have to schedule 2 separate days to hang out, which is much harder now. We're both employed now.
Not living together.
Yeah.
Both in 2 different counties.
Yeah.
So it's very hard.
So it's much, it seems easier to me to just try to do everything at once. But we'll talk about Sonic 3 right now because we saw that in the movie theaters. Actually, first I think I should give a One Piece update. I finished Punk Hazard and started Dressrosa, and I switched to the manga because the anime sucks. And I've read 5 chapters.
Heartbreaking. Dressrosa anime watchers always quit right before it's about to be good. And then right before it's about to be good is another 3 episodes of Doflamingo walking down the hallway.
I haven't even gotten to... He's still fighting Law in the town square or something. I don't know. Luffy is...
Has Luffy even left the arena?
No, but he has talked to Zoro. Dressrosa is really slow. Dressrosa is when the DM takes you to an area and it takes 5 sessions more than he expected to get through the area. Because he gave you too many side plots.
It is almost exactly like that. To a T. Dressrosa bad. Dressrosa okay in the manga. Dressrosa bad in the end.
Yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying it now that I've switched to the manga. Like, the backstory's pretty interesting. How Doflamingo managed to take over Dressrosa is an interesting...
Yeah.
It's kind of similar to how
Crocodile...
Crocodile...
say how it's kind of similar to how Crocodile almost took over...
Yeah.
Almost took over Alabasta Kingdom, and I'm like, yeah, it kind of is interesting. It's also kind of interesting how half of Doflamingo's crew have the power to manipulate their weight, can cause miniature explosions, art powers. That's kind of interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's honestly my big problem with post time skip in general up to where I am is that none of it's like terrible, none of it's bad, but none of it is very original.
No,
all of it
not
feels
even
like
by
something.
one. Not even by one, especially on.
Yeah, like all of it feels like ground Oda's already tread, just being walked on a slightly different way.
a different walking path down the same woods.
Yeah. So, but I'll make it through.
We'll make it through.
Eventually. If I'm not like live action season 2, whenever that comes out, will motivate me if I haven't already been motivated.
Let's go.
You know, is the manga on Elbaf now?
Yes.
That sounds.
It's been 84 years.
That sounds very. One Piece is really good this week.
It's so good. It's so good. I've not been keeping up with my One Piece daily update or weekly updates. Anyway,
it's hard to watch It's hard to read manga or watch anime weekly. Like I got sucked into Dan when there was like 2 episodes left, and then I'm like, man. They really ended the first season of the Dan anime literally in the middle of an arc. Like in the middle of action happening. You're like, what? What do you that wasn't written like a season ender.
What? No.
And I'm not really that much of a weekly anime watcher or weekly manga reader because
anime consumer.
Well, I'm not that much of an anime consumer in general, but especially like weekly is hard because I feel like sometimes in those 22-minute episodes, half a plot line happens. Like at least with 45-minute like streaming television or whatever, there's some level of like, okay, things like a certain amount of things have to happen in one episode sometimes. And if they don't, it's considered bad pacing. But I feel like with anime, it's like
that's just the standard.
Like that's just the standard. Yeah. Now there is such a thing as bad pacing in anime. One Piece, Dressrosa.
The Dressrosa is real.
But like, yeah. Dan really good. I don't want to spend a bunch of time talking about that right now, but I might make a review.
Real Don, really good.
Sonic 3,
good.
I
couldn't even think of. I was drawing. You could see I was drawing a blank because I had nothing.
Your transition skills are a little rusty. We got to do this more often.
Rusty the Hedgehog. Shadow the Hedgehog, Sonic the Hedgehog 3.
All right, so what did we think of Sonic 3?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
The second one is still like
that's still like the funniest.
That's funniest one.
That is the best watch.
Yeah. Sonic 3.
Not the best movie.
Yeah.
The best watch.
Because Sonic 3 has a much more coherent plot and more solid emotional stakes, but it's less just pure entertainment value than the second one. And it really is, it's crazy that, in 2020, for like our first or second FEARcast, we talked about Cats and Sonic in addition to, the movies we watched specifically for it. But we talked about those as 2020, as fear-inducing movies that came out just before the pandemic. It really is crazy that Sonic has turned into like
a multi-billion-dollar franchise. I don't know if multi-billion, but like
multi-hundred. It's probably made
a very highly grossing franchise.
The most consistently highly grossing movie franchise of the 2020s, probably.
God,
if you're not counting ones that started before 2020.
God, that is true. Except for maybe, I don't know if Dune actually made that much money.
That's true. The two combined Dunes, I'm gonna guess and say that no, the two combined Dunes have not made as much as 3 combined Sonic movies, or won't have once Sonic 3 is finished with its box office run. That's not a statement on the Dune movies are way more peak, but
whoa! I'm showing you the way. I point the way, Shadow.
But yeah,
I am the voice of the outer worlds. Lisanal Sonic.
Sonic. Oh god. But yeah, I mean, Sonic. I was about to say Sonic Adventure 3 because it adapts. It's
an adaptation. Okay, so here's the thing about the Sonic movies. First Sonic movie, its own thing.
Yeah.
Like, not even really you can't even really call it an adaptation of Sonic Adventure of Sonic 1 or Sonic 2.
Yeah, it has Sonic and it has Eggman, and
that's the most it gets to being like an adaptation of Sonic the Hedgehog 1 or even 2.
Yeah.
And then Sonic the Hedgehog 2, the movie, is very obviously it is Sonic Adventure 2 and then Sonic it's Sonic Adventure 2 and 3 combined into one
You
story.
mean Sonic Basic 2 and
Sonic 2, and Sonic 3 and Knuckles.
Yeah, all combined into one story, which makes for a very cluttered movie, but a very fun movie.
Yeah.
And then the third one is Sonic Adventure 2.
They've not adapted the events of Sonic 1 yet. Sonic Adventure 1 yet. I'm assuming because they're probably waiting to save Chaos as like the big bad or something.
I guess. I don't really know. It's a very interesting... It's interesting how we've gone from buddy comedy with Sonic in the real world to straightforward game adaptation.
Now hit the second tower, Maria.
You're no Maria. That one went hard.
Hard as fuck.
Jim Carrey in this one in general, I felt like was a bit like weirdly, because you think when there's two of him and he's like mugging with himself that it's going to be more stupid, and there definitely are moments where he's like more stupid, but there's also like
it feels a lot more condensed.
Yeah, like the movie doesn't stop so often mid-scene.
Now it does. Now, to be fair, there are entire sections of the movie where when the two Eggmen are on screen, literally everything stops happening.
Yeah. It's instead of the action stopping mid-scene for Jim Carrey to riff, we cut to scenes that are just Jim Carrey riffing with himself. Where like things are happening, but not really in like ultimately he's just goofing around until the other characters get there.
Right.
I don't know. They gave Jim Carrey another Jim Carrey to babysit him. And it's quite amusing. I thought it was funny. There were some good jokes in there with him. I liked the very meta bit where they're like, it's like we're two characters acting in the same movie.
That was pretty good.
Played by the same actor. That's a joke that will either flop or land, but to me it
there's only one blade, and there's only ever gonna be one blade.
Oh god, I haven't seen Deadpool yet. Deadpool and Wolverine.
Spoilers, Blade is in it.
I know like everyone who's in that movie because it's all over social media. That's the other one we said we were gonna do a Matthew McFadden episode. We'll have to do that next.
We'll have to.
Yeah. Anyway, that is. I was gonna say that joke felt like something out of a Deadpool movie, but it also felt like something out of like a YouTube. Like it felt like something out of the Snap Cube dub or something.
Yeah.
Like that kind of audience lampshading, and it's just kind of fun. It's just kind of fun to see that in a movie.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff. That's what I like about these Sonic movies is they're very sort of irreverence. Not even the right word. It's more than that. They're like they feel shitposty sometimes. This one not as much. This one
felt like an actual movie.
Yeah. This one.
Despite what Jack will tell you.
Well, I mean, I think the first one probably felt the most like an actual movie to him because it was the most
it was the man and car movie.
Yeah. Also, the first one is kind of like, probably in terms of sheer amount, the first one's probably actually the least shitposty, but the shitposty stuff stands out more because the rest of the first movie is so boring that like the memey stuff stands out more.
Yeah.
Whereas with the third movie, we kind of come in with an expectation already in place of like what the tone of these are.
Yeah.
But they managed to do some like I was surprised by some of the ways they pushed the boundaries of the tone. Like,
I mean, they actually made you kind of care about Donut Lord.
Right? I don't think they called him Donut Lord at all in this one. That was a bit exclusively for the second movie, and maybe the first too? I don't remember. But yeah, no, he gets...
Well, because it was meant to originally be Chris Pratt.
Oh, yeah.
Star-Lord. Donut Lord.
That does make sense. I like that it's James Marsden. If it was Chris Pratt, I feel like it would be... You'd feel even more, like, more generic somehow.
It would be... it would feel like the... It would feel like the way those Jurassic World movies feels, where it's like... It would feel like a Jurassic World movie, but it would feel like soulless in that same way as this is just a movie that exists to be to keep the IP relevant.
Chris Pratt already has Mario.
Look, Chris Pratt. It's a me.
But anyway, yeah, no, Sonic's sort of character turn after Tom gets punched by Shadow is like, oh shit, Sonic's actually not just like quipping anymore. He's gonna walk in here for the third act of the movie. And it didn't feel like cheesy that he went to serious. Now, I did find the conflict about like, oh, we can't use the Master Emerald, Sonic. I have to hide the Master Emerald. I found that to be a bit...
kind of forced.
Kind of forced, yes. A bit forced. Especially because I don't really remember that being a big deal in the second movie.
Well, it was a big deal. The Master Emerald in general was a big deal. So, like, him using it was a big deal. But it wasn't like, oh, it's forbidden. Like, the last time we saw the Master Emerald in the movies, at least, it was in a cooler. It was in a cooler
and I also,
that they were bringing on their camping trip.
And I sort of immediately clocked that as the writers needing a reason to not have the Master Emerald, to not have him use the Master Emerald until the third act. I'm like,
why doesn't Goku go Super Saiyan away and kill all the bad guys?
But I like.
Then it wouldn't be a good story.
Yeah. But I really liked what they did with Shadow. And all that, like, that stuff was...
It turns it from, like, some of the most dumb, edgy, it just turns it from, like, edgy, kind of boring edginess into something kind of actually, not interesting, but, like, an actual story behind it where it's how far will you go for revenge? Mm-hmm. Like, what will you lose for the ones you love?
And... including Gerald Robotnik and not having him be dead, like in the games, does serve more of a purpose than just, now there are two funny Jim Carrey.
Now there are two Jim Carrey. My eyes are unseen double. 4 Jim Carreys.
Having Grandpa Robotnik being alive was kind of what, like, made Jim Carrey's Eggman have a connection to the plot at all.
It felt like, because now he is like a living embodiment of not being able to let it go.
Yeah, and then like that scene between the two of them where he's like, where young Eggman finds out that Grandpa Eggman is gonna blow up the world, and he's like, it'll blow up everything, including us. And you're like, I had an actual, I'm like, oh shit. Okay.
He didn't think it would. He did like the fact that like Gerald is like so willing to go down.
Yeah.
With that, and also that like Eggman is so actually caught off guard. Like you thought, like, oh, is he gonna like betray his? Is he gonna betray his granddad? Is he just all in on like? Is he gonna try to steal the plan at the last minute?
Well,
but like he doesn't.
Yeah, and I like that when he has that moment of like, oh shit, my grandpa wants to destroy everything.
It's a quiet moment.
It's a quiet moment, and it lets him like, and he contemplates it, but he doesn't spend a ton of time thinking about it. He kind of just takes action in a way that's really interesting for the character, and they don't have him like go back on that at the end cheaply and be like, haha, well I didn't want to destroy the world, but I'm still a villain, and then like they're like,
nah, he's saving the world.
Yeah,
he gets to go out.
Yeah, like his death scene and the way his character arc was handled in the movie was good enough that I'm like,
if Jim Carrey doesn't renew his contract for another one and never comes back for another Sonic movie, I'm happy with the ending of Robotnik.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't need any more. They'll probably bring him back if he wants to come back, just because.
Jim Carrey would be like, I am never doing another Sonic movie again. Cha-ching,
cha-ching,
cha-ching, I'm doing another Sonic movie.
But it's just like his storyline was surprisingly well handled, and the fact that they actually like took his relationship with Agent Stone too, like the
they said the quiet, not out loud, but like it's all but stated that they're in a gay toxic codependent relationship.
The actor who plays Agent Stone is
absolutely
like
plays it like that. And
well, he also like he reposts shipping stuff and like from what I've heard, he's very active online and reposting shipping content between them, and it's like he does play it like that because there's a subplot in this movie where
Agent Stone feeling like he's being left behind and not appreciated by Eggman.
And he does play it like it can be interpreted as just being upset that his friend, but it also like, you know, he plays it like it definitely is more than just a casual friendship that the character is losing. And that's like really interesting. Like that makes me genuinely interested to see where his character will go if Jim Carrey doesn't come back, or if Jim Carrey does, for that matter. Like, where does that dynamic go? Where does that relationship go? I feel like that's a more interesting thing that they've done with Eggman as a character than maybe anything the games have tried to do with him as a character.
Yeah.
Like
every
he's a
time
static villain in the game.
That's what I was saying. It's like if he does die, it won't really matter because everything after Sonic 2, he just shows up to cause problem to release the actual villain of the game. Other than like Sonic Generations and Sonic Mania, both of which are games
sort of
made retro throwback celebration games that are maybe not even canon. Like
it seems like Sega is investing big in Shadow between the Sonic Generations remake having like a whole Shadow game in it, and then like this movie. And, you know, the post-credits stinger, spoilers.
They didn't kill off Shadow the Hedgehog.
They don't want to just use Shadow in one movie and then never again. I feel like that goes without saying. Like,
spoiler. I feel like the actual spoiler. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, sure, we can talk about it.
Yeah, so I feel like the actual spoiler is at the very end. Amy shows up.
Yeah, Amy.
And fighting an army of
Metal Sonics.
Which is like, okay, who made those?
Guess
what?
We'll find out.
Has she been fighting them this whole time? It is an honestly pretty interesting setup for a sequel.
Yeah.
Because like now you're like, well, if Eggman is dead, who made these?
Right.
And Gerald, we know what Gerald's been up to in the last 50 years.
Yeah.
He's been plotting everything to this day.
My revenge.
So it's like, who the hell had time to make these?
Right. Trying to think of other notable things about the movie that I really enjoyed. They played Live and Learn. Which was nice because that was a nice Sonic and the whole third act's pretty great fight climax sequence.
I mean the whole third act is also literally just the climax.
It's the most overtly plucking the climax of one of the games and putting it in movie format. And I feel like really the only differences come from how Eggman fits into it.
Yeah, he's like from like cartoonish villain to kind of to somewhat like anti-hero.
Right, yeah. But yeah, I mean
it's good, pretty good
movie. We've reached the point. It was like the first one the arc we've gone on of quality from the first one to the third one, where like the ironic,
the stupider they get, like the more, yeah, like the kind of not insincere, but like ironic, like not really always trying to keep its kind of distance.
Yeah.
From like the goofy video game stuff to no, there's just a full on. We got Shadow the Hedgehog, the Edgehog. We got the egg. We got Gerald Robotnik.
Oh, I was gonna say I did not love Keanu Reeves' voice work.
No.
I thought Shadow the character was written well and adapted very well, and Keanu Reeves was able to successfully played Shadow's like cheesy edginess. But
yeah, he's so edgy, it's like over the top.
Yeah.
But so it comes back around.
But there was not there was a layer to the performance that was missing that would have made me more genuinely invested in his storyline.
Yeah.
Like there was only a couple lines.
I feel like that's the problem with like
emotion.
I feel like that's the problem, just like always a problem with writing Shadow, or like just Shadow in general. Mm-hmm. It's like the character, like the writing is one way, and then the way that the character is actually performed is so a completely different way that it often ends up feeling like this is just literally an edge, like a teenager's edgelord.
Yeah, it was weird because I feel like Keanu Reeves' voice work, had it been voice work for Shadow in a video game, it would have been above average. But for a movie, it felt lacking.
Yeah,
and it
absolutely.
And it felt a little like flat and a little emotionless at times, and not in a way where the character is trying to hide their emotion.
No, Shadow tells you his emotions front and center.
Yeah.
It's rage.
It was just a little too subdued. A little.
I am all of me.
And it's a shame because most of the other vocal performances, like Ben Schwartz's Sonic,
still really good.
Idris Elba's Knuckles, good.
I loved how goofy he was.
Tails actor is literally just the game actor,
literally
so
Tails.
like of course they're gonna be good.
Goodest.
But then Shadow was just kind of not at that same level.
You're a colorful bunch.
He was good at delivering like the comedic lines.
He was good at delivering the one-liners.
Yeah, the one-liners, which I
the stuff
kind
that
of
was
expected from Keanu Reeves, but I think it was kind of like, Keanu Reeves was not proving the Keanu Reeves can't act idea wrong with this one. But in spite of that, I still enjoyed the character and his presence. And the backstory section with Maria was really nice.
Yeah. I can't believe this movie got me to care about Maria.
Right.
Like, kudos to them, because Maria and Shadow is such like a... This is...
Well, I mean, there's the memes are like, cheering when Maria gets shot. It's like, no, like you play.
No one cares about Maria. They just want to see her die so that Shadow can go on his edgelord.
But I think with the flashbacks and with Shadow's character and with Gerald also being still alive and also getting to see him like express his grief, that's sort of like the themes of regret and grief were actually fully explored.
Yeah.
In a way that was pretty satisfying.
Let's go.
Sonic's on the run. Sonic
Underground. Do you think they're gonna adapt Sonic Underground?
Oh God. I need to see Sally from Sonic Sally in the movies. I need to see Sally Acorn in the movies for no particular reason.
Well, fun thing about that, you can't. That's in a continuity that they're not allowed to use anymore.
God, wait. Oh, right, because she's in the didn't that become like the comics continuity?
So okay.
And now they can't.
Don't get me started on the rat's nest that is Sonic continuity. So there is the video game continuity, and then there is the cartoon continuity. Now there are two different cartoon shows from the '90s: Sonic Sat AM and Sonic Adventures, or Sonic the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. They have a lot of the same cast of characters, but in completely different contexts and different universes. Sonic Sat AM would then get adapted into like the comics, which would be the Archie comics. And those Archie comics then got taken over by Ken Penders, who is the history's greatest monster and the entire reason why you're not allowed to enjoy anything in the Sonic the Hedgehog, like the Sonic the Hedgehog extended universe, Pre-2007.
All right. We've switched sides.
Hadouken!
Switching sides. It's time to talk about legendary movie Street Fighter.
Legendary
and the Legend
movie
of Chun-Li.
Street Fighter and the Legend of Chun-Li.
So, you know what? Okay, why don't you explain to the audience who, like me, may not have extensive lore of Street Fighter character backstories.
Alright, so
explain to me Chun-Li's backstory.
So since this is Chun-Li, since this is about Chun-Li, I'll just explain Chun-Li and the characters important to Chun-Li to explain this. So here's Chun-Li. You can put a picture here.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's going to make the views go up because
Chun-Li in the thumbnail.
Let's go! This is Chun-Li. She started out as just an ordinary girl. Then one day, her dad, who worked for Interpol, and I believe was trained by Gen. I can't remember exactly if he was trained by Gen, but like I think he might have been friends with Gen or something. Regardless, one day he was working. Her dad, who was working with Interpol, to track down the organization known as Shadowloo, run by M. Bison, with four heads of state. Balrog, Vega, or three heads of state, Balrog, Vega, and Sagat. They all went, one day, her dad got killed. And I believe Chun-Li saw her dad get killed by Bison in front of her. And so, on that day, Chun-Li swore a sort of an oath of vengeance that she would do whatever it took to take down M. Bison. So, later on in life, she trains underneath Master Gen, expert martial artist, master of all things Kung Fu, pictured here. She joins up with Interpol and the new Special Forces team that they're assembling for the sole purpose of taking down Shadowloo. She teams up with friends Guile and Nash in order to take down M. Bison and his Shadowloo gang, all pictured here. And that is the events of leading into Street Fighter 2, where Chun-Li is kind of the deuteragonist, not really. The thing about Street Fighter is that Chun-Li, despite kind of being the character who's the most important to the plot, because the plot is always about Bison because he's in every game. It's never actually about her, it's about Ryu because he's on the box.
Yeah.
But she's the one everyone likes. Look at her, she's iconic. Slay Queen, everyone knows her, everyone loves her. She's got a great personality, very fun, kind of a mix of fun, bubbly, but also deadly serious, yada yada yada. Everyone's favorite Street Fighter, Chun-Li.
Now, let's talk about Chun-Li, the legend of Chun-Li, as told by the movie Street Fighter, the Legend of Chun-Li.
Alright, so, Chun-Li was the daughter of a wealthy businessman.
Did they ever specify, was he part of Interpol, was he a businessman, what did he do exactly?
He had some connection to Bison before he got, spoilers, kidnapped. Spoilers for...
Spoilers, he doesn't get killed.
Spoilers, he doesn't get killed.
Well, he does later.
He does get killed much later, far after if it was actually important to Chun-Li's development. So she spends up growing, so instead of like living the life of having a police dad, who taught her the importance of law and justice, and then spending kind of her more young adult years having to cope with her new feelings of vengeance and violence, she spends her entire life living in the lap of luxury as her rich dad pays for everything until one day he disappears because some weird guy named M. Bison shows up on her doorstep and takes her dad.
And then she just kind of continues living her life with her mom and becomes a concert pianist, just like she was going to before, probably.
Yeah, and then her mom dies of something.
Her mom dies of illness. Movie illness.
Movie illness.
And at the same time, she gets a mysterious mystical scroll, so she's like, okay.
After helping some homeless guy in the subway who had a spiderweb tattoo.
The Order of the Web!
The Order of the Web!
Madam Web!
Let's go!
Beautiful. This movie does have a weird...
there is a lot of connections to Madam Web. We'll get to it.
Yes.
So anyway, just continuing with the plot outline. So Chun-Li gets this magical scroll, and after her mom dies, she says, "Fuck it, I got nothing better to do." So she takes the scroll, to a Chinese shop or to like
It's
a novelty Chinese shop in Hong Kong. Gets it translated and follows the school's instructions. She abandons all of her worldly possessions, flies to Bangkok, and lives a life of pretend homelessness.
Yeah.
Not actual homelessness.
She has money.
She has money. She has a change of clothes. Like every time we see her, she's wearing something new.
Yeah. She just doesn't get a hotel and sleeps on the streets.
She doesn't get a hotel. She sleeps on the streets and is kind of.
She has to become one with the people of Bangkok.
And she gets kind of sweaty and dirty. Yeah. So that means you're one with the people of Bangkok. So she's a poverty tourist for all of like 6 months at the
I don't.
less than a year at the longest.
It's hard to tell because I'd say for the entire first act of the movie, she has more narration dialogue than she does actual dialogue.
And
they just rely on narration.
And then in the second half of the movie, they just don't really talk that much.
Yeah.
You don't really get a sense of who the Chun-Li actually is. We'll get more into that later. We'll get more into that later when we actually talk about what's wrong with this movie.
While Chun-Li is doing all of that, she eventually meets the man named Gen, much younger than he is in the games.
Yeah, here.
She trains under him. While she's doing that, we have a subplot where Nash...
pictured here. Again, here's video game, here's movie Nash. As he's been following Bison, as he's moved into Bangkok, because he's been following M. Bison across 11 cities and 4 continents and never found him once.
And we follow Nash as he and a female partner from the local homicide detective.
You'll notice I'm not mentioning who her Street Fighter counterpart is,
because
there is none.
She should...
This could have just been Chun-Li.
Yeah, do you see what we're saying here? For some reason they split Chun-Li from like a significant part of her own origin story, and then kept that part of her origin story as a B-plot in the movie.
A bad B-plot. A bad B-plot that is just there to make sex jokes.
Yeah, no, they have this weird like flirting thing going on between Nash and female cop.
It doesn't
go anywhere.
It doesn't feel like a cute will they won't they. It more feels like workplace sexual harassment.
Yeah. And Nash is such a Nash is such a nothing burger character.
We pretended that he was a character from Ace Attorney Investigations.
He was Xi Lang from Ace Attorney
Investigations. And that immediately made him way funnier. Because it turned all of his because it recontextualized all of his stupidity as that's just who he is.
Yeah,
that's what Li Shang Lang is like.
Because these cops are terrible. Chun-Li is better at finding the members of Shadow League. She has no investigative experience as established by this movie. She's just some concert pianist.
She's a concert pianist who did kung fu with her dad recreationally as a 6-year-old, and then decided to live in pretend poverty for like 6 months. Maybe she actually lived in poverty, but here's the thing. She had a wealthy family that she could fall back on a moment's notice. So she was never actually in any danger of living in actual poverty. But anyway,
I feel like this point
you're asking. Okay, we get it where this is going. So where do their plot lines converge? The very end of the movie, because this movie's bad at plotting. So we cut back to Chun-Li and Gen. They have tracked. They don't really do much either. They track down. They find out that Bison's bodyguard Katana is a lesbian, so they follow her to a bar. Chun-Li tries to seduce her and then fights her in the bathroom. And
in a Madame Web tier awkward seduction scene, like up there with the villain of Madame Web seducing that woman to steal the NSA chip or whatever it was.
God.
Equally unsexy, equally strange and off-putting. Chun-Li kicks this woman's ass.
And then that is the first time that those two plot lines have emerged, because Nash bursts into the club because the cops were following the same lady there, only way more incompetently because it's Nash.
Yeah.
And so they burst in and they're like, Interpol, freeze! He sees Chun-Li after she just got done Actually, he didn't even see her beat anybody up. She just saw her standing over some people that got beaten up. And just assumes she did it. She runs away.
And keep this in mind. Keep this in mind that this is their first meeting as we continue through this plot. Keep this in mind.
Alright, so afterwards, Nash goes back to his office and finds out that they're being taken off the case because...
I feel like there was a scene or two... No, there was a scene or two between that of him and her trying to figure out who this Chun-Li woman is.
It doesn't actually end up mattering because, spoilers, they don't actually find her. She finds them.
Yeah, so he is able to, like, Google her name, essentially. The same way she was able to Google Shadowloo and find a picture of M. Bison.
Ben asks her to go looking for information about Shadowloo, so she Googles Shadowloo, finds M. Bison, his company, his front company, the people, and then like 3 people he's blackmailing.
Yeah.
It's like
that's also I think how they find the information about Katana.
Yeah,
maybe I don't remember.
And it's like this is after they just had.
What did she even get out of beating up Katana? I don't remember.
The location of a boat.
Okay, and then maybe that's how she ran into that guy who had all the shipments that she beat up? Okay, yeah.
They don't do, despite how much this movie spoon feeds you stuff through narration, and constantly being like, this is what you need to do.
Instead of spoon feeding like elements of the plot through narration, they spoon feed like what the character
They spoon feed character development.
Yeah.
So Chun-Li, she finds out where like this thing called the White Rose, which is important to Bison's strangely brutal backstory. More on that later. Is coming in at midnight. So she goes looking for it, gets jumped by Shadowloo, and she gets brought before her dad, who gets killed right in front of her by Bison.
And it was in this scene, right before Bison kills her dad, that I realized that we had no idea at all why Bison kidnapped her dad or what he was using him for.
We thought, like, is he a hacker? Is he a business connections? They never explain, and then you're like, okay, well, it doesn't necessarily matter if they never explain as long as they keep him alive, because it's clear, like, okay, he's important, so they're going to keep him alive.
Immediately afterwards,
they snap his neck, so it's like, okay.
What was the point of this?
Okay, so did he serve a purpose and now it's done? In which case, why not kill him sooner? If he served a purpose and if he didn't serve a purpose, why did you keep him around? If he's kept serving a purpose, why did you kill him?
It truly is baffling. And, so that happens. Oh no, Chun-Li's dad died. So sad.
So sad. How is she ever going to cope now that she's a fully grown adult woman?
She also doesn't emote.
No.
But the actress is not good.
No.
The final shot of the movie,
we could not tell what
I could not tell. Like they linger on her face, and she makes several different expressions, but I couldn't tell what a single one of them was meant to convey. It was kind of baffling, actually.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So then Chun-Li escapes. That reconnects her plot line after she liberates the people of Bangkok against Balrog.
Oh, right. There's the whole sequence of her running away from Balrog.
Because she's one of the people.
Balrog is the most fun character in the movie.
Yeah, he's the one bright spot.
Because he's played by, is it Ving Rhames or is it? I don't remember. I know this actor.
So they the people of Bangkok drive away Balrog's men, and then Chun-Li reunites again, and then they go to meet Nash, and they're like
Michael Clark.
They're like, Bison's got a shipment coming in at X date. You need to be there. And then they don't even bother to be like, why can I trust you? Like they don't do any.
Especially because didn't he give her bad information the first time or something? She said something to that effect, but I didn't.
She got bad information before. It doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter.
So they have this whole thing where it's like, okay, now we're prepared for him. And so immediately, Bison just blows them all up with a bomb he already planted up there. Then they have this big dumb fight shootout. And then
The people of Bangkok save her from Balrog and his minions.
Well, no. I'm trying to wrap it up. So then they find out the White Rose was.
Well, okay. Before they find that out, we have to talk about. So Chun-Li gets this intel, and she goes and gives it to Nash.
Yeah.
Now remember when we said that Nash's first and only interaction.
Yeah. Remember last time we mentioned Chun-Li and Nash in the same sentence. In the same scene together was in the club where he saw her in a crowd of people and was like, who is she?
So somehow she knows who he is.
She figures out he's Interpol, that he's one of the good ones, because the movie is also like Interpol might be corrupt.
Right.
That he's working to find Bison. Like, she finds out all this stuff just in the background.
The only possible explanation is that a scene was cut.
Yeah.
That a scene had to have been cut between the two of them.
Probably, I don't even mention it because Vega ends up serving such a small...
He's literally just like a fight. They build him up as big and scary. And
Chun-Li's Chun-Li's probably second most important villain, other than M. Bison. And he's like... literally so unimportant to this plot, I forgot to mention.
Balrog is way more memorable than V name that I've already forgotten.
Vega.
I was thinking Vash. I was combining it with Nash.
But
this is how little I remember.
By the way,
I care about these
Vega
characters.
in the movie, Vega in the games.
Oh, they got the mask and the claws. And that's
let's go! It's so accurate.
Peak.
I actually kind of prefer the movie Balrog because in the games Balrog's just a corrupt boxer.
Yeah.
He's not really that interesting.
Bro.
But him being like this cartoonishly evil goon,
oh yeah,
I find way
Michael
funner.
Clark Duncan just plays him so fun, and all of his fights are the best ones because
he's the only one who
they
knows
just have the other people do martial arts, and he just stands there like a tank, tanking it.
Yeah, so like you get some really fun choreography where it's like, how do you defeat a guy who's so big and tough that literally nothing you do hurts him?
Yeah, he's honestly the best character in the movie, which
and then
is
he dies.
He's like a literal nothing jobber, but like he's entertaining.
He's so entertaining that he makes that nothing jobber character more interesting.
Well, he looks like he's about to start laughing every time he's on screen, and everyone else in the movie is treating it so deadly seriously. Like Neil McDonough as M. Bison, Damien Dark from Arrow, extremely white man.
White man in Bangkok, and they have to go out of their way to explain
how his backstory,
why this cracker is in Bangkok.
How did he grow up in the Bangkok slums?
It's like the Irish missionaries.
They died and he was left there. And
so grew up, and so let's now we're talking about. Let's talk about. By the way, so Chun-Li and Nash, they confront Bison. They find out the White Rose is a little girl. Chun-Li kills Bison in front of Rose. And you think, wow, is this going to set off some type of domino chain of getting revenge, as Chun-Li watched Bison kill her dad in front of her, and now she's killed Rose's dad in front of Rose? No! The movie ends with them teasing the Street Fighter cinematic universe.
No, okay, you buried the lead a little bit there, because this Rose girl is M. Bison's daughter. You see, that's very important because we established in a narrated flashback by Gen, exposition flashback.
We'll get into the specifics later because, oh my god, in a bit, because, oh my goodness, that's weird. Let's talk about it now.
Well, what's later? We've already recapped the plot.
That is
We've
true.
already explained how it doesn't tie in with the game.
Let's start with Bison, his backstory, and how that connects to the strange levels of violence in this movie.
Yes.
So Bison's backstory, as we established, he was the son of Irish missionaries who grew up in the slums of Bangkok, where it was a cutthroat dog eat dog world.
They have to explain how this blonde hair, blue eye stare white man is like raised in the Bangkok slums. So that's how.
So anyway, then when he's finally about to make a name for himself, he takes his pregnant wife to the Cave of Evil. I don't know what it's actually called. The Dark Caves. He takes her there, and then he performs I can't. So he pours all of his goodness into their unborn daughter.
And then rips it out of her?
Rips it out of her. I don't know if that was necessary or if he just did that because he was evil now. But like, no, he legitimately, like, you're like, okay, this sounds like a bad movie, but it sounds like a very standard run-of-the-mill, like, wuxia, like Hong Kong wuxia style thriller, revenge film, you know?
Yeah.
You know, cats and dogs living together.
For the most part,
this sounds like Super Cop, but bad.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So then you're like, wait a minute. Ancient evil that can be evil and good being quantifiable forces in which you can take your evil take your good out of yourself and put it in someone.
I think the problem is that they do so much work to try to like remove the fantastical elements of this being based on a video game,
and then immediately put them back in with no explanation.
Yeah, any of the fantastical elements that do remain feel horribly out of place. Like the weird light beam Hadouken balls that she learns how to make from Gen. Like, not only did the effect look bad,
it
like
was
really bad for 2009. Like what?
This is terrible.
But like
but also it's like
it just like doesn't.
And it's not like there is any build up to this. Like before, last time we saw her fight, last time we saw like Gen.
Yeah.
Like when we first see Gen do the fireball, it's in the middle of a training sequence.
Yeah.
And it's not like, oh, they're building up like cool martial arts, like, oh, you know, high wire work, and now they're doing fireball stuff. It's like, no, they're doing like, you know, block this hit.
Yeah.
Catch this rock that I'm gonna throw at you. Here's a fireball. There is no build-up, but up until this point, the action, while like a bit spectacle, like a bit of a spectacle, has been very grounded.
Grounded combat.
It has been stuff that's like, this makes sense for to exist in a kung fu movie.
Like it's a bit over the top in the way that they're doing like big video game moves, it's not fantastical.
It's over the top by normal action movie standards, and it's over the top by like G.I. Joe standards. You know, but it's not over the top by like regular kung fu movies.
Well, and I feel like one of the problems is this movie can't decide if it wants to be a kung fu movie, a cheesy video game movie, or a G.I. Joe Transformers type, very, not even...
cinematic universe.
Like, yeah.
Cape shit.
Yeah, cape shit.
Cape shit before cape shit.
But you were mentioning the random levels of violence in this movie.
So this whole process... with M. Bison putting his goodness into his unborn daughter's body involves him violently ripping her out of her mother, and like we don't see the action,
right?
But we see his hand. Like, we see the motion of his hand starting to go into her.
Yeah.
And then we see the bloody aftermath where he's holding the bloody baby and there's blood, like, all over her face. It looks like one of the less fucked up scenes in American Psycho. Because he looks like a fucking American Psycho character.
And this is not because young M. Bison they somehow found an actor with an even worse case of blue eye stare than Neil McDonough.
He looked uncomfortably white. He looked like he was about to start singing the 14 words or something.
And then there's another.
And you're like, wow, that sounds really violent and out of place. Oh, doesn't it? So earlier, before we get this backstory reveal, we get a scene where Katana, the M. Bison's bodyguard.
Well, so M. Bison is training.
Yeah.
He's punching.
And you're like,
he's like punching a punching bag. He's training, right?
And then like there's a kind of throwaway line by Balrog being like, didn't know Katana was so tough. And then Bison's like, they all break eventually. And then we cut back.
Pan over, and it's like,
he's got bloody fists. Well, first we see that he has bloody fists, and then you're like, oh, did he like punch so hard that he like bloodied his knuckles? Yeah. And then we turn, and then we get a reverse shot of Katana's lifeless body being used as a punching bag. Like, it's not gruesome because it's still a PG-13 movie.
But it's just like weirdly, totally dissonant.
It's so out of place with the rest of the violence in this. Like, that happens a lot in this movie. You know how Balrog dies? Gen shoves him full of liquid nitrogen and either boils him to death or freezes him to death. It's not clear which happens, but what is clear is that it's very painful for Balrog.
For you.
And then earlier, when the first, not warning signs, but like signs that this is going to have a weird tonal whiplash of violence, was the fight. Like up until this point, the fight choreography had all been like very normal, high flying kind of spectacle stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And then the fight scene between Katana and Chun-Li in the bathroom, it's weirdly voyeuristic, and it's also weirdly way more violent than anything that had happened before, because like there are extended shots of Chun-Li like
bones breaking,
going out of her way to break Katana's arms, like in very violent, realistic ways, where it's like, isn't this a Street Fighter movie? Why are we watching people's bones break in increasingly violent ways?
It also...
but then you don't have time to linger on that, because immediately afterwards, Chun-Li busts out of there, takes down 4 guys at once using a spinning bird kick, and it looks terrible, but it's so goofy that you're like, okay, I guess that was just kind of a weird one-off. And then immediately it's Bison
punching her. Yeah.
And then after that, very shortly after that, is Bison's backstory, where it's where he's ripping his daughter out of his wife, and you're like, what is this movie? What is the level of violence that is supposed to be normal for this world? Because it seems like it's all over the place. Earlier in the film, Chun-Li takes down like 4 guys and drops like a shelf on one of them, and it's like, it's kind of comedic.
Yeah.
Is that actually... Were we supposed to see his body get squished to death? Like, did he canonically die there? Later in the film, she shoots a guy straight in the chest.
The
levels of violence in this movie, and the way Bison dies is that he gets impaled, and then Chun-Li breaks his neck so hard that his head twists all the way around in an admittedly really cool...
There's a cool shot where he's laying face up, but his head is turned 180 degrees down.
The one good shot in this movie, but also, this is supposed to be Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li,
and keep in mind
right?
that his daughter sees Chun-Li do that also.
She pauses, looks at his daughter, and then does it.
Which, okay, to go back to that we were talking about earlier, this white rose shipment they're looking for, the thing that is very valuable to M. Bison that he needs to acquire, it's his daughter that he put all his goodness into.
Yeah. Why does he need to go get her? I don't know.
What does he plan to do with her now that he has her?
I don't know. Why is she speaking Russian when he's speaking English with an Irish lilt, and everything takes place in Bangkok? And the character that she's based on, Rose, pictured here, is Italian? I don't know.
All we get is a passing mention of his daughter being his weakness.
And it's like, is that literal? Because we've established that good and evil exists in this world. Is he invincible unless you kill his daughter? Well, that turns out not to be true. Was it just metaphorical that daughters are the weaknesses of dads, like Chun-Li said at the end of the film?
Well, Chun-Li says that because she's quoting it back to him, because he says it to her right before she kills him.
And it's like, what is... And it's like, okay, so this is a film about, like, the relationship of fathers and daughters? And it's like, not really. Bison has surprisingly little... There are some scenes with Bison establishing that he cares about his daughter, but, like... not enough to be like, oh, he's an unredeemable monster.
Yeah.
But his one weakness is that he loves his daughter. It's like, no, he seems like an unredeemable monster who just happens to have a daughter that he cares about. Like, it's not like it's like his one weakness. It's, oh, he has a daughter. That's unexpected for a character like him. It's unexpected for a character like him that care about a different human being besides himself.
Right.
It's not, oh my god, he has a daughter.
So, we've gone over how the plot and the themes, and nothing about this really makes any sense.
Again, themes. This whole movie, if you want to try to connect it about something, it's about the relationship between fathers and daughters and, like, the quest for revenge versus justice, right? Mm-hmm. Chun-Li wants revenge on Bison because he took her dad away and then later killed her dad. But she also was balancing that against her need for justice because she's learned from Gen that violence may not, like, you can't be consumed by anger or whatever.
Did Gen even teach her that?
I don't know.
Or were we just adding that because that's what usually these kinds of movies teach?
I don't know.
And plot of the movie is she gets her revenge.
She gets her revenge, and it turns out it's great and awesome. And also, don't worry about the fact that you just killed that guy right in front of his daughter. Two things that this movie shares with Madame Web. The Order of the Web and bad ADR.
Bad ADR paired on top of bad facial acting.
Oh my goodness.
It's not Madame Web level bad ADR.
It's not so terrible that like it's genuinely like unlistenable. Yeah. Like in Madame Web with that main villain. But it is bad enough that once you notice it, you can't stop noticing it.
And it's also like
every single time someone opens their mouth, you immediately are like, those are not the words you're saying.
It feels a little out of sync, almost like it's an English dub of a movie in a foreign language. But if you actually look at their lip movement, it's like, no, they clearly are saying these words.
Yeah. Also, like, this movie was like a co-production with like an Asian and English company. It was made for an English audience.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's like this. It's also got the color. It's got the poor man's film grade of Transformers, where everything has this weird blue tint to it, and also sometimes there's a bit of an orange.
Yeah, like yellows and like dark, sort of washed out coloring.
Washed out, but also super saturated somehow.
Yeah.
So saturatedly washed out.
Yeah. And that's what I mean is it's like it's at one time very like a 2009 kind of action movie, like in a Western action movie, but it also is like trying to be a kung fu movie sort of kind of thing.
And it's not like those are incompatible. We saw Super Cop do it. We've seen other wuxia movies do it. Like, you can do stuff like Crouching Tiger, or there's an entire like subgenre of kung fu Western action movie. But Rush Hour, anything Jackie Chan ever did, like it's possible.
Unfortunately, this movie is just not
it.
Just not cooking.
Not cooking at all. It's bad.
It's like dry. It's like,
and it's not even bad in a fun way. It's just
pasta.
bad. It's bad in an uncooked pasta way. It's like I'm not getting any nutrition out of this, and it's not got even like a pleasant texture to it.
Yeah.
This is just nothing.
Yeah. When Balrog laughs, I get slight enjoyment.
I'll do it myself. Blows up his own men for no reason.
Yeah, he just shoots that rocket launcher like 5 seconds after they give it to him, and then just walks off.
And he's like a block away, so he doesn't even know if his men are succeeding or not. He's just like, I want to shoot the rocket launcher now.
Oh man. Well, that was Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li, an acclaimed, amazing video game movie. We're gonna go watch the 1990. Something Mario Brothers movie now, and we'll report back.
Let's go.
Hadouken!
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-ba.
Swing
We're Goombas. Can you tell because of how Goomba-ish you look? The Super Mario Bros. Movie.
The Super Mario Bros. Movie 1993 is insane. Absolutely insane.
Okay. Before I get into the plot breakdown.
Yeah, okay, we spent all of not Double Dragon. What was the movie we literally watched right before this that was so forgettable that I forget?
Legend of Chun-Li.
Mario movie has erased it from my brain already. This is the advantage of recording these right after we watch the movie, is I would not have been able to tell you shit about Legend of Chun-Li after a day.
Oh my god, it's already gone.
It's already gone.
Listen, so before I talk,
sorry. I was gonna say, we spent so long talking about Legend of Chun-Li and how its plot was so off from the games. Does not even compare the Mario movie.
Before I get into the plot for what you can call the plot for this movie, there is something I need to preface, and that's how this movie came about. So, Mario 3 comes around. Nintendo realizes they got a hot ticket. They're looking for someone to get the film rights. They're playing it close to the chest because they don't want to give up too much money, give up too much rights. So they go for a smaller studio that'll give them a bigger cut. Film Motive. You might have heard of them from one of their most famous films, Rain Man. So, starring Tom Cruise and
Dustin
Hoffman. This was a big get for them because this was a hot property that had no prior filmography connection.
Yeah.
So they tap the best screenwriter they can get for this. The initial script rejected because it was apparently just Rain Man but with Mario and Luigi.
Incredible. This studio's incredible at making movies.
No, but here's the fun part. They get Harold Ramis of Ghostbusters and other comedy movie fame to write a script treatment. And that script treatment is so good, Nintendo signs on immediately. Nintendo signs on immediately, and then they get 3 big stars right off the bat.
Bob Hoskins,
and Dustin Hoffman, and John Leguizamo.
Dennis
Hopper, and John Leguizamo, all off the strength of that script. So they have a good script. They have good producer backing, and they have a good budget for it. All they need now are the directors. Who do you think they get for this? Who do you think they get for this hot ticket film? Rocky Morton and Annabelle Jankel, who didn't direct a film before this. And didn't direct a film after this.
Interesting.
Do you know what they're famous for?
What?
They co-created Max Headroom.
The
British television character.
Okay.
The CGI British television character.
Okay.
That is who they got to direct this.
Huh?
And you know what their first thing was as soon as they got on set? They looked at that script that
everybody signed on for.
That everyone was like, this is a good movie. Bob Hoskins was like, I don't know anything about video games, but this reminds me a lot of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, the last thing I was in. Great movie. That was a great movie. This is probably going to be a good movie. Same thing with Dennis Hopper. He was like, I don't know anything about Koopas, but my kids love
stomping.
My kids love this Mario. My kids love this Mario thing. So I'll get in that movie for them. And so these 2 directors, they take one look at this script and they say, we're going to make some changes. They wanted to put their identity on this. They wanted this to be their magnum opus. So they took that script
with all of their
directing and threw it away.
Why did they have so much authority to do so?
Because they threatened to walk, and Nintendo was too scared to go looking for another producer.
What? Another director?
Yeah, and Nintendo was Film Motive. At this point, it had been like 2 years of pre-production.
Oh.
And Film Motive was too scared to find another director, so they let them do whatever they wanted.
Interesting.
And whatever they wanted included rewriting the script daily, moving the shoot out to Nevada, or like
the desert.
Moving it out to the desert, where they built a studio set.
Sweaty because
it was in 100. It was in like 120 degrees.
Yeah.
And so everyone is boiling.
Yeah.
The only way, and the script is getting constantly rewritten, so characters are mad. It's like actors are mad because the script they signed on for doesn't exist anymore. The new script is bad, and it's getting changed daily. So there is no point in memorizing your lines. So there's also no point in showing up. There's barely any point in showing up to set anyway. So you know how they all cope? With copious amounts of drinking. Every single one of them has admitted that they were blasted drunk on set. John Leguizamo famously said, there was one time I was really drunk on set. We had a car scene we had to film. I was drunk. I was behind the wheel. I pumped the brakes a little too. It wasn't a fast scene. It's a car scene. You know, they're like driving 5 miles an hour at most.
Mm-hmm.
But like he pumped the brakes too hard. Door stayed shut. Right on Bob Hoskins' hands, breaking it. He had to wear a cast for the rest of the movie. Which is why if you look at certain shots, you can see a skin-colored cast on Mario's arm. At some point, the directors didn't like how one of the Goomba suits looked. They wanted to look grittier. So they took some coffee and poured it on top of one of the Goomba actors.
Wild.
They argued that it was not hot when they did it. But they did not argue that they didn't pour it on them.
God. Okay, so nobody had fun making this movie.
No one had fun making this movie.
Which is a shame because I did.
No one had fun making this movie.
Which is a shame because I did have fun watching it.
It is one of the single biggest shit shows in a production when it comes to production schedules ever imagined.
You know, that really, it makes sense because nothing that was good about the movie, like, it wasn't the script that I enjoyed. Mario and Luigi have no arc. There are characters who I, to the end of the movie, did not really understand the motivation of. Case in point, Bowser's girlfriend? Question mark? Lena? Famous Mario
character, Lena. Well, let's talk about all this plot. This famous Mario plot.
Okay, so...
We all know the story. The meteor comes crashing down, and instead of destroying the dinosaurs, it teleports them to an alternate dimension where they evolve alongside humanity, becoming all the Koopas and Goombas that we know and love. Everyone knows this story.
The classic
Mario story. And then the Mario brothers find Princess Daisy, not Peach, Daisy.
Who's Peach? Toadstool? I don't know who that is. Daisy.
By the way, Daisy is also part dinosaur. Don't worry about it.
She got dropped off at the nunnery
as an egg.
Remember?
Yeah. We all know this.
Like in Mario 3.
I mean, it's all right there.
If
you read the booklets, it's really
the instruction manual.
So they find Daisy. Luigi and Daisy hit it off, but then oh no, Iggy and Spike show up.
Iggy, played by famous character Hugo Succession, actor Fisher Stevens.
Woof. Woof. They show up, kidnap Daisy because she's the key to reuniting their two dimensions.
The merge!
The merge!
The merge is real!
So the Mario brothers have to go and save her.
Yeah.
And then hijinks ensue as they obviously recruit Toad, the not Toad person, but instead the not Toad nor Mushroom person, but instead re-evolved.
He was just kind of a bystander.
Re-evolved dinosaur that then becomes a Goomba by being unevolved into a dinosaur. Except he doesn't become a dinosaur; he just has a shrunken head.
He just becomes a Goomba.
That's different from the other dinosaur in this movie, Yoshi, who is a dinosaur, and Koopa, who is apparently an evolved Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Yes. King Koopa
played by Dennis Hopper with his best, I don't even want to know how to...
So they gave him a hairdo designed to look like dinosaur scales running down a...
I was going to say, it's like if Donald Trump had, a cornrow.
It is,
cornrow.
I feel like it is a Trump pastiche as well.
I mean, yeah.
Because it's in New York City, you've got these big banners up that say, elect Koopa, and he's making a very Trump-like face in those banners. It's definitely a bit of a Trump pastiche.
Yeah. For those of you who aren't aware, Trump used to be incredibly unpopular before he started running for president.
Well, he also has a whole pop culture history that predates his presidency that is different than now. So it's kind of funny to see.
He was also the villain in Back to the Future 2.
He just shows up in Back to the Future 2 for a second.
Biff.
Biff. I said Back to the Future 2 and I thought Home Alone 2 because my brain is fried from Mario. My brain is fried.
So anyway,
they have to stop visit to Dino Hatton. Baby.
They have to stop Dino Hatton and Manhattan from getting merged together.
They have to stop the merge, save Daisy, and also all the other human women that were kidnapped, including
dinosaurs, including Mario's famous girlfriend, Daniela.
Yeah, they have to go to WrestleMania.
Yeah, WrestleMania, that well-known part of Mario Bros. lore.
And there's also Daisy's father. So Daisy
a guy,
is
just a guy.
Daisy's father, who's just a guy. Daisy's father.
Well, you have to remember, even though they all are descended from dinosaurs, they look exactly like humans, except some of them have weird
hairdos, features.
Yeah.
Also, somehow Daisy's father was like the previous ruler, but somehow King Koopa de-evolved him into a mutant fungus.
Because, by the way, they have de-evolving technology, and instead of de-evolving into dinosaurs, you de-evolve into weird mutant creatures.
First you de-evolve into Goomba. We see Toad de-evolve into a Goomba, which means fungus people are not a separate race from the lizard people. But also somehow the King of Toad, we'll call him King Toadstool for the record, he's never named.
No, and Toadstool didn't exist back then.
Yeah, and but we'll call him King Toadstool. He was de-evolved into a giant mutant fungus thing that throughout the movie, there's so many, like, it's not simply, if it was just simply a different movie entirely with Mario names plugged into it, that'd be one thing. That'd be like...
But it's the way that they go out of their way to be as
way to include Mario elements, but in the most warped way possible.
Which, now that you know the production history, makes some sense, right? Because the directors were actively trying to... Not... According to them, they were trying to save the film. But according to everyone else, it was active sabotage. They were... So
like... Their interpretation of the mushroom power-up is the sentient fungus that I guess is the king.
It's basically
helping Mario and Luigi
through what I can only describe as the Force, but somehow
Deus Ex Mushroom.
Deus Ex Mushroom. It's basically the Force, but mushrooms.
And the Goombas are not short little mushroom guys, but in fact tall dinosaurs with little heads.
Yeah. The Koopas are also, if they even exist, are also tall guys with little dinosaur heads. Yoshi is just a dinosaur.
Bowser is King
Koopa is Dennis Hopper with cornrows.
They repeatedly dress Mario and Luigi in the wrong colors. Like
they do not dress them in the right colors until the last 30 minutes.
In the last 30 minutes. Before that, Luigi
is always wearing...
have Luigi wear red. The opposite of what he normally wears.
And then they put Mario in everything but red.
Yeah. What else? What else is there? Because there's an endless well of strange things to talk about in this movie. So...
the fact that Daisy is the princess and she's clearly modeled after Peach.
Right.
But
they give her a purple dress.
Or a purplish pink dress.
Oh yes, there's also this mystical rock from the meteorite that created the dimensions.
Yeah.
And that's the MacGuffin everybody's trying to get.
Which is somehow not at all related to Mario at all.
No.
But also, if you think about it, kind of related to how later on they decide that all the Mario worlds are literally different galaxies.
Oh yeah. And this rock...
So it's, again, just even when it's not trying to be anti-Mario, it ends up becoming anti-Mario.
And this rock is transferred between several characters, one of which is a
thick woman.
A thick black woman in a red spiky dress who is later established to be Big Bertha, the enemy that appears in, like, what, 2 levels in a few Mario games? And they have to get the rock back from her, and Mario does so by seducing her, not by any normal means, but by basically saying, "Yeah, punch me some more. Step on me, Big Bertha." This is a scene in what child is watching just imagine being in the headspace of a child going to the movie theaters and watching the scene where Mario tries to steal the rock off of Big Bertha's chest.
So here's the thing. So here's the story of the...
Like, just imagine...
Here's the story of the writing. The first screenplay was written by Oscar-winning screenwriter Barry Morrow, but it was basically just to Rain Man.
Okay.
So then they did a second pass-through where that was a more traditional adaptation. And so they wanted it to feel a little like Wizard of Oz, which is not out of the park.
It does.
And then they're like, it was basically Shrek before Shrek. So they're kind of tooting their own horn, But they got we get the sense.
A lot of this description of
So then they were like, we tried some different avenues, and then we began thinking of Max Headroom, which is when they got involved with...
when they made the mistake of getting the directors.
So they decided to go out to the Tim Burton School of Filmmaking.
It does feel like
they
diet Tim Burton.
And so like they literally were like, we're going for a darker tone. We're going to change everything. This isn't Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. The Dino World was dark, and we didn't want to hold back. The true story behind Nintendo's inspiration.
Honestly, okay, everything we're saying makes it sound like I like the. I don't think you like the movie.
I don't like the movie, but it is fascinating.
It's very entertaining and very fun, and it's.
I believe the phrase is is magnificent corpse. It's not good, but it is fascinating to watch and dissect.
I'm curious how much in the original script that everybody signed up for, how much of the world building is there. Because I feel like the world building is interesting, but the problem with it is that because it's a Mario adaptation, instead of spending all your time engaging with the world building, you spend all your time asking, wait, so is that supposed to be a Koopa? Like it just sows constant confusion, and the movie is so fast-paced that it doesn't even give the characters any time to process anything, let alone the audience.
Okay, here we go. The concept of a parallel universe inhabited by dinosaurs was inspired by Dinosaur Land from the recently released Super Mario World.
Okay. So
Janko
Super Mario
envisioned
World came out,
the
and they
parallel
saw
dimension
dinosaurs
as
and
a
Yoshi,
whole world with a reptile point of view, dominated by aggressive primordial behavior and basic instincts.
Guess that was kind of what they went with, but it's sort of...
And then Morton considered the ecological and technological consequences of a dinosaur that holds fossil fuels sacred.
I don't even know where... I think that element...
It's a wonderful parody of New York and heavy industry. We called it New Brutal. I guess it is kind of brutalist.
It is kind of brutalist. That's what I was going to say. There's not... This isn't like... There's not a lack of aesthetic cohesion. There's just a lot of strange...
It's not that it's aesthetically incoherent. It's that it does not make any sense for a Mario movie. Yeah. It makes anti-sense for a Mario movie.
It is like everything... Okay, I forgot I was... So, Big Bertha, after they get the rock from her...
she gives them the jump boots, and you're like, okay, so
they're going to use this to stomp Koopas, right?
No. They don't use those to stomp a single Koopa. In fact, they don't even use the boots to jump. They use them to fly through the air.
There's a bizarre scene after they get the boots, right after they put on the overalls as well, where they're in an elevator with a bunch of Goombas and maybe Koopas too.
And you're like, oh, this is
where they're going to stomp her. Instead, they
do a dance?
Trick the Goombas and Koopas into dancing with each other. It's genuinely unclear what they're even doing. And that's a lot of the movie. Is like, this is fun, but also what the fuck is going on?
This is like what I could understand and forgive the movie for being like insane.
Yeah.
And a completely batshit insane take on Mario if it wasn't so utterly like incoherent in every other way, where like every single time you hit a plot beat, 50 other plot beats, or like 50, like every time a character starts talking, 50 other things happen at the same time.
And also like every
sensory
time you
overload
think the plot is going to zig right, it zigs left. Every time you think it's going to go up, it goes down. The Twin Towers get disintegrated during the merge, and then the merge gets undone. So presumably the Twin Towers are back.
Oh, this is so fucking funny. They knew they tried to get out of it. They wanted to get out of it, but then they realized no one else is gonna be able to finish this piece of shit.
Oh.
So they had to stay on.
Wait, so that's
they were like told to leave.
What the fuck? Let me see.
Oh, the script doctoring was partially motivated by studio purchasing the film right. So the cast didn't discover it until they arrived on set.
Oh.
In North Carolina, so not the desert, but they were still in 100-degree heat.
And drunk, and Bob Hoskins, whenever Mario is grumpy, it feels very real.
it doesn't. He isn't playing.
Yeah.
He is just actually on the verge of having.
There's this one scene where Bowser is where King Koopa is in an interrogation room with Mario and Luigi, and they are so sweaty and uncomfortable looking that it actually is affecting the delivery of the lines. Like King Koopa is like awkwardly hunched up. Dennis Hopper's like awkwardly hunched up like this, and he's sort of like stumbling through his dialogue. It's
okay. Now this is interesting. Apparently, he said she said bullshit. The directors.
There's a lot of contradictory
claim that the script wasn't their fault. It changed. It got changed when they came to set, and the set had already been decided before they had arrived. So
the script was based around the set. The sets are.
What they're claiming is that Disney purchased Filmotive for distribution rights and then on rewrites. Nowhere else does it really mention that.
Interesting.
So according to them, it's Disney's fault.
What the fuck? That's why this movie isn't on streaming at all, because who even owns the rights to it?
Yeah.
Like,
I guess Disney, but...
We did have to watch this on DVD. Did you bring the DVD back up here?
No.
We're not even going to exercise this one.
They shot scenes with strippers and other sexually explicit content.
Yes, they were at like a strip club at one point, basically, when they have to get the Rock back from Big Bertha. But I'm like, a lot of these things are negatives. My positives would be that I think the concept is really interesting. If you stop trying to, like I feel like I could watch it again, stop trying to figure out what corresponds to what Mario thing, and just like try to engage with the world building, and it would be a little better. I think the sets are genuinely really impressive, but unfortunately there's no time for like costumes. Like the costuming and design of like the characters is not all that interesting because so much work is put into the set.
What the fuck? So the production designer talked about what he was doing, and
I want to hear what he was doing because he was kind of cooking.
So he said that he came up with the idea of Dino Hatton by taking all the video game elements and turning them into metaphors.
That did kind of feel like everything in the movie was like a bizarre metaphor.
And then why it was like that specifically was according to them, it's Koopa gets a vision of Manhattan from at the beginning of the movie. I guess he was the dinosaur that got hit by the asteroid
or something.
Never mind how the fuck he survived that.
I also like that they
that means he's millions of years old.
This information is also not explained in the movie. Like, it's not explained how he
gets a glimpse of Manhattan, and so he tries to recreate it, but since it's Koopa, he makes it in his own distorted image.
That was not made clear in the movie.
Absolutely
That's
not.
Interesting, but that sure was not made clear in the movie.
Honestly, the idea of if we open with on the Mario Bros arriving in Manhattan, in Dino Hatton, and then the whole movie was from the perspective of this is Manhattan but wrong.
Yeah, they didn't lean into that aspect enough.
No.
It kind of just becomes a chaos city of loud screaming people. Not quite that, but...
It feels a little like a commentary on the crack epidemic I mentioned.
Yeah, you mentioned
it feels
the way the dino...
Specifically in the prison, the way they're all rattling the cages and acting
they were in a prison.
And it's and it's all people of color, and it's this feels weirdly coded. This feels like it's a metaphor for the war on drugs. And I don't know if it's meant to be pro or anti-war on drugs.
But, yeah, really the sets are really interesting, and the idea of the world is really interesting, even if it feels even if it's half-baked and marred by obvious script production issues, enough so that, that Kirk is diligently reading the Wikipedia article. How long is that? Is this all just the production section?
This is the productions. Okay, it's broken down. To let you know how bad this is. The production is broken down into several parts. The development, the writing, the casting, the filming, the production design, the creature effects, and the visual effects.
There was some interesting visual effect. Nothing that looked great, but nothing that looked super out.
You could argue about whether or not it makes sense with the Mushroom Kingdom. Everything from this point onwards, I really
production design onwards.
Like, do I think they made some batshit insane choices? Yes. Would I have been interested to do it? Would I have been if they had put the movie on mute and literally been like a day in the life of Dino Hatton? I think I would have liked the movie.
You would like it more.
Getting to understand this world of insanity.
Yeah, that's part of the problem is
from the viewpoint of this is just normal life for them. It doesn't feel like normal life. I mean, they treat it like normal life, but it never feels like we get their sense of normality.
You don't
it just
really,
feels like it's nonstop crazy.
Because the focal point characters are from the outside, and the plot moves so fast.
As soon as they show
any time to understand.
Within I think 5 minutes of the Mario Bros showing up to Dino Hatton, they're getting arrested by the police.
Yeah. It moves so fast, they don't even ever have time to stop and have a conversation about how crazy it all is.
They become surprisingly numb to this.
Oh, yeah. And Daisy does, too. She's just immediately like, oh, where's my father? Yeah, he's a fungus creature? Okay, cool. And she stays there at the end of the movie, and they have this moment where Luigi's like, oh, no, you've got to come back with me, princess. He doesn't sound like that. But, and Mario basically has to drag Luigi out of there. Because, again, the brothers don't even have time to have a character arc.
Oh man, Bob Hoskins talking about the Mario movie was...
he's
Super Mario Bros. It was a fucking nightmare. The whole experience was a nightmare. It had a husband and wife team directing whose arrogance had been mistaken for talent. After so many weeks, their own agent told them to get off set. Fucking nightmare. Fucking idiots.
Yeah, Bob Hoskins is very vocal about hating it. I feel like the other...
I think it was almost the nicest thing he said was, I'm glad people appreciate the movie. It was the first. No one had ever done it before.
I mean...
I'm proud of the movie in retrospect.
It was one of the first video game movies. I feel like they did good work. The actors did good work. That's what...
Everything, yeah, the actors were great.
The production design is good, the acting is good.
It's the script and the directing that's really bad.
You can tell the directing is not there, because there's this glorious set and this interesting world,
and we never get
none of it is given a good sense of...
scale or anything.
Yeah.
They do tell us that, like, it's basically a few dingy streets, but it never feels... It feels like it's one dingy street.
And it also, like, the layout of it is... there's the whole sequence at the end where Mario drops a little bomb on that he got earlier in the movie.
So, like, we're on surface level, and then he drops it below surface level.
To where the fungus is. We then follow the bomb through the fungus, out onto a lower street, up a wall, and then somehow it gets underneath where King Koopa is standing and blows him up. But because the geography of this place is incomprehensible, it really doesn't, like, it's just kind of like, at a certain point in that, the third act is really exciting at first, and then it hits a point pretty much after the merge starts to happen and then doesn't, and the Twin Towers get disintegrated disintegrated.
They hit the fucking Pentagon!
After that happens.
For as much as they build up the merge, it is shocking how quickly it goes, and how inconsequential it is, and how much it drags the place of the movie to a crawl.
Yeah. Mario and King Koopa just get teleported to the basic world, and then teleported back to where they
imagine if in the Mario Bros, the 2023 Mario Bros movie, when Bowser got to Manhattan, the whole movie just crashed to a halt.
And then, well, not only that, but imagine if he got to Manhattan and then just jumped back to Mushroom Kingdom with really nothing happening in between. Way more to say about the Mario movie in terms of, like, even what we could say while we were exercising it. I have nothing to say about Chun-Li.
Legend of Chun.
The Mario movie has a demon that needs to be exorcised, but
I'm too afraid of it.
I don't want to try. Dino Hatton must remain in its world.
We cannot merge.
We cannot merge Dino Hatton.
Is this why Jack and Luke fear the merge so much? Because they know the Dino Hatton's gonna come out.
Burgundy becomes Dino Hatton.
Burgundy fuses with Dino Hatton. Okay, Luke.
Luke's
do it.
Luke, if he's watching at this point in the video.
Something's in the way. Ooh. I'm trying to see if I can find the cat's DVD. There it is. Pretend this is Legend of Chun.
We beat this poor DVD to death, you know.
Legends of Chun-Li.
Street Fighter, Legends of Chun-Li.
You are so fucking boring that there isn't even anything to talk about.
No, there's no demon.
Movie. I'm going to purge the demons out of you like Bison purged his goodness out of him in an incredibly graphic display for a PG-13 movie. I'm still not over that. What the hell was your deal?
That was probably the most deranged thing in that movie.
A vast